Over the last decade, the rise of Geely has been a huge story, and no report from the Chinese show can be complete without a report on what they're up to. By now, most people should know Geely is the Chinese company which bought Volvo a decade ago. However, for much of that decade, the two units will run very much separately. Over the last few years, this has changed, and the cars on show at Beijing are further evidence of that change. Key to current smaller Volvos is the Compact Modular Architecture Platform, CMA. The first Geely to use the CMA platform was the Xingyue, a coupe SUV. At this year's Beijing show, the second Geely production version to use the CMA platform was unveiled, the Preface, which has a Chinese name of Xingray. The Preface has a distinct look carried over from the concept seen at last year's Shanghai show. The major difference is that the production car gets regular doors rather than suicide doors and also gets normal door handles. At launch, power comes from a 2-litre turbo engine. It's likely that a 1.5 PHEV version will be added to the lineup soon. It's also possible that the older 1.8 turbo engine will be used for export models. The interior has been pared down from the concept that we saw at last year's Shanghai show. However, the feel of the materials is really top-notch. One detail that's really worth seeing is that it has the name Preface written on the seats. We also have very good material usage. In fact, they almost feel premium. Another leader in the Chinese car industry is Great Wall. And Haval has what is claimed to be the third generation of its H6, consistently one of China's best-selling SUVs. The second generation actually only launched in 2017, and so it's likely that this car actually has a strong relationship with that car. The most noticeable difference is actually here between the C and D pillars, and where the window is a lot bigger. Here we are inside the Haval H6. As you can see, the materials are actually quite good quality, much better than in some of the recent ones that we've seen from Haval models. We have a floating infotainment screen, as is quite common with a lot of German premium brands. The general styling is very modern. We also have these rather nice red seats and a red trim to the interior, which actually matches very nicely the outer red paint job that we have on this model. There appear to be lots of spaces in this car. Here is what I guess to be a wireless charging port, so you can put your mobile phone there and it will charge. We also have a huge cubby hole down here, along with more storage space here. And we have cup holders there. The general feel is actually fairly premium, and the car seems pretty well put together. What's also noticeable about the interior is that it wraps around the driver. So we have, particularly from the dashboard, it comes very much into the door and wraps around the driver. And this very much, with the center console here, it very much puts you in control of the car and as if you're commanding something. At launch, only a 169 horsepower 1.5 turbo unit is available, but a 2-litre turbo pumping out 224 horsepower will come later. There is also talk of future plug-in hybrid and all-wheel drive versions. The new H6 will certainly help Haval stave off competition from other Chinese competitors, who are continuously increasing their SUV lines, an area that Great Wall is overly reliant on for its passenger car sales. We're now crossing over to Chinese car royalty. Hongqi, or red flag as it translates, has traditionally been the state limousines of China's leadership. Founded in 1958, the marque is in fact China's oldest car passenger brand. A few years back, however, it was flailing for direction. This has all now changed. The H9 certainly has a presence about it with a huge front grille and a modern interpretation of the iconic red strip on the bonnet. Size-wise, the car is actually closer to an S-Class or BMW 7 Series, although it is actually a competitor supposedly for the E-Class or 5 Series. Prices, however, started RMB 309,800, and the car is only available with a 2-litre turbo or a 3-litre V6 supercharged engine. The latter only provides 200 kilowatts, 268 horsepower, and 400 newton meters of torque. So here we are in the back of the H9, and as you can see, it has a fairly sumptuous interior. I'm not quite sure about the carpets, they look a bit aftermarket to me. One notable feature though, however, is this. Look at this. This is extending my, what would it be, leg rest. I can move my backrest, and I'm not quite sure what this button, oh yeah, this is doing the back support. Quite impressive. We also have a heating and a cooling function for the rear seats. And here we have another compartment. So as I said, this, although it is meant to be an E-Class or 5 Series competitor, is actually far closer in size to an S-Class. And in many ways, some of these features are more in line with a car of that sort of standard, although equally maybe the materials might not be quite up to standard. Oh, in fact, actually I've just realized I've activated the massage function on my seat, which is very pleasant. Right here we also have a digital control unit for the rear temperature environment. So we have, we can control the temperature, we've got an auto function. We can put it up and down with the heat. What have we got here? Oh, we have a full-sized power socket along with USB charging ports. Right, so here we are in the front of the H9. And it's swathed in a leather-like material, although I don't think it's actually leather. We have a sort of brushed aluminium type effect here. The feel, however, of the car is not as premium as, say, some of the German competition by any means. One interesting feature is that with the steering wheel, it's actually rather devoid of buttons. So we have 2 wheel units which seem to control quite a lot of things, and there are actually, rather than buttons that are depressed, there's more like touch-sensitive spots on the actual wheel, which currently I'm not too sure what they control. All right. They have various controls. In fact, the feel of it is not actually that great. I think by the looks we have actually we can actually warm the steering wheel by the looks, if I'm not mistaken here. I think that's what I've just activated. We have temperature controls here, and we have a storage compartment here, and what looks like a wireless charging space for phones. The general feel, though, is, whilst it's acceptable, it's perhaps not as good as German competitors. Having said that, the car is actually pretty well put together, at least on the surface. Today we've seen some exciting cars from Chinese producers. As we've been going around the show, there are also plenty of other cars, and there's also a lot of people here at the show today. Thank you very much for joining us, and be sure to stay tuned for further content from the Beijing Auto Show.